Hi guys, it's me again, and here we go with the first of today's countries. As we're on Haiti, as Haiti forms part of the island of Hispaniola, and before the Europeans arrived, people called it Arawaks, lived there. But on December the 6th, 1492, Christopher Columbus landed at Moro St. Nicolas on the northwest and called the island Hispaniola, which was later angelicized as Hispaniola. Now, so we're going to be mentioning Christopher Columbus quite a bit in the next couple of weeks and all. As Columbus built a fort on the island, and he left 39 men to kind of man it, but he returned in 1493, and he fought the Arawaks and killed them. But his brother, Christopher Columbus's brother Bartholomew, continued to explore the island, and the Spanish settlers came. As 100 years after Columbus discovered Hispaniola, European diseases and a war almost made the Arawaks become extinct. But while the Spanish claimed ownership over this whole of the island, but they mainly settled in the east, while the west was largely empty until the 17th century when the French settled there. And in 1664 they founded Port-de-Paix, and finally in 1697 the French and Spanish signed a Treaty of Ryswick, as the French were given the western third of the island of Hispaniola, and they called the colony Santo Domingo. And in the 18th century, Santo Domingo, Haiti, whichever you prefer it, became rich, and as a colony exported sugar, coffee, cotton, indigo and cocoa. But the prosperity depended on slavery, as a huge number of black slaves were brought to work on the plantations. And by the end of the 18th century, there were about 30,000 French people, and about 27,000 of mixed race, and nearly half were black slaves. But in 1789, the idea of a French Revolution, such as liberty and equality, reached the colony of Saint-Domingue. And in the 14th of August, 1791, the slaves rebelled and a war ensued which devastated the colony. However, the war ended when France ended slavery in 1794. So 5 years after it all kind of began. And one of the leaders of the the rebels, was a man called Toussaint Louverture. When the war ended, he joined the French army, as the French were at war with Spain and were fighting against the Spanish 2/3 of the island of Hispaniola. And in 1797, Toussaint was made commander of the French army in Hispaniola, and by 1801 he was in control of the island, as he declared all the slaves free and made himself head of a new government, as he published a new constitution. And as fearing they would lose the colony, the French sent an army over under Charles Leclerc, and using a trick, Leclerc captured Toussaint. However, the army was decimated by a fever. Furthermore, a former slave called Jean-Jacques Dessalines continued the struggle against the French, and on the 1st of January 1804 the island became independent and was renamed Haiti. However, the island was left devastated by the war, and Dessalines was assassinated 2 years later in 1806, and then in 1809 the Spanish captured the eastern part of the island, in what is now the Dominican Republic, while the western part of the island eventually became Haiti. And in 1822 President Boyer of Haiti captured what is now the Dominican Republic, but the two separated permanently in 1844. Meanwhile, other countries were slow to recognise Haiti, as France recognised Haiti in 1825, but in return the French demanded compensation for the land and their plantation owners had lost in Haiti, as the Haitians were forced to pay large sums of money, which will not be completed until 1887, as Britain recognised Haiti in 1833, as US recognised them in 1862 in the midst of civil war. As President Boyer was overthrown in 1843, and afterwards Haiti had a long period of instability, and between 1843 and 1911 there were 16 rulers. 11 of them were overthrown by revolutions. It's one of those things that happens in humanity kind of thing. And then in early 20th century, the political instability in Haiti grew worse, and finally in 1915, the USA sent Marines to occupy the country to protect the American business interests there. But the occupation was resented, not surprisingly, by the Haitians, and the US Marines finally withdrew in 1934. But there was still no political stability, as in 1946 the president was removed by a military coup, and he was replaced by Demarcus Estamay. He was in turn overthrown by the military in 1950. As he was replaced by Paul Maglori, who was forced to resign in 1956, as a series of provisional presidents followed until the people elected Francis Duvalier, or Papa Doc, in 1957. As Duvalier became a brutal, kind of like a dictator, ruling Haiti, with the help of his now infamous secret police, as Tontons Cortez. Under his rule, trade unions were banned and the press was strictly controlled. And in 1961, following the fraudulent election, Duvalier was re-elected, and in 1964 he made himself president for life. In 1971 he changed the constitution and gave himself the power to name a successor, but died the same year, and his son Jean-Claude Duvalier, or Baby Doc, became president of Haiti, as Baby Doc proved to be as bad as his father in some ways. As in the late 70s and early 80s, many Haitians fled to Florida by boat to escape his rule. And by 1984, the economic conditions were so bad as people were forced to demonstrate out of sheer desperation. As Duvalier lost support, and in 1986 he went into exile. But there was no democratic return of the government in Haiti after Duvalier went. The army seized power in Haiti, as protests at home and pressure from the US forced them to hold elections in December 1990. As Father John Bertrand, a retired, was elected president. However, he did not rule for long, as in September 1991 he was overthrown by a coup and forced to flee abroad. Something that happens quite a bit as there was once again a military dictatorship that ruled over Haiti, and people tried to flee from the country. as pressure from other countries forced the army to allow President Aristide to return, and when Aristide's term ended in 1996, René Préval was elected president. And unfortunately, it was not the end of the political stability, as there was struggle between two men of Aristide and Préval. And in 2000, Aristide was elected president, but the opposition refused to accept the results and would not recognise Aristide as president. And following the protests of November 2003, Aristide promised new elections. However, in February 2004, a rebellion broke out and Aristide was forced to leave Haiti, and an interim government took over until new elections could be held. Finally, in 2006, Préval was elected president, and in 2011, Michael Joseph Martelly was elected, and in 2017, Jean-Yves Maurice was sworn in as president of Haiti. And as of 2003, voodoo was recognised as the official religion of Haiti, although it had been practised within the country for 300 years by that point. Sorry, it's a warm day here and my legs are getting sweaty. And in the early 21st century, Haiti was still a very poor country, like the poorest in the Western Hemisphere, and many people were subsistence farmers. Unfortunately, in January 2010, Haiti suffered a terrible earthquake, which I studied as a case study when I did GCSE Geography. But unfortunately, in January 2010, Haiti suffered a terrible earthquake, which left vast numbers of people dead or injured, and many more were left homeless. And already very poor Haiti was left with the task of recovering from the earthquake, as I have a feeling that there was a lot of charity work going on to help, as there is some growth in the economy, and the population is about 10.6 million. But staying on the fact of the 2010 earthquake, did you know that there was a lot more people feared than just the earthquake and the repercussions, as there was a type of monster that seemed to be, as there is like one type of monster that seems to be very persuasive across like the human psyche of cultures, that like the werewolf and all that can transform between human and animal. And for some, it isn't purely just a product of our imaginations, but a very real monster that lurks beyond our understanding, kind of thing. And one such creature seems to have crept out of the shadows of the law after the earthquake, where the survivors of the earthquake had to deal with homelessness, lack of resources, looters, thieves, and werewolves as well, apparently. So yeah. And it's far from coming from like any single origin kind of thing, as tales of werewolves have been part of cultures throughout the world for centuries, and they have been known by many names, like the ancient Greeks knew them as lycanthropus, and in Ireland were Vardat or Conriok, as the Dutch had the werewolf, as the Italians had the lupo manero, and in the French they were referred to as a loup-garou, as in Serbia it was called lax, and in Eastern Europe had the margad, and in Armenia and the Varkolak in Bulgaria, while in South America they were known as Labizo, and in Trinidad the Lecaru, and I know it goes with this persistent along with the persistent myth of shape-shifting monsters, prevail across a surprisingly far-reaching range of peoples and cultures, where the means by which these individuals transform and their reasons for doing so can differ as they expect different aspects of whether they can actually control these transformations or not. As a Caribbean island nation of Haiti already steeped in the dark lore of zombies and voodoo magic, also has a version of the werewolf, which they call the Yeux Rouges, or red eyes, as well as referring to him as in the French loup-garou, and by the Creole word of loup-garou. And in the Haitian folklore, these sinister creatures are said to be either powerful shape-shifting sorcerers, wearing magical animal skins, or people possessed by nefarious spirits, which can be trusted in transforming their bodies into a wide range of animals, like wolves, dogs, cats, eagles, lizards, snakes, and surprisingly chicken. Although it's a bit like, I'd find it hard to imagine chicken as scary. At times it's said to become hybrid abominations, like winged humanoids and a mixture of man and beast. As once the metamorphosis is complete, these creatures stalk out into the night and feed on blood, with their favourite said to be that of children. And one part of the law is that the Yeux Rouges is typically steal or murder children, and will take mothers into the middle of the night and ask for their children, with a sleepy mother kind of like half awake and at best sometimes saying yes. As one woman kind of said, that it can be half wolf or half bird or any animal, but werewolves just mean that they practice an evil art of voodoo where they wear skin of an animal and kill in the night, and there have been many men who have been lynched when they were found out to be werewolves. Werewolves are normal men that use voodoo and use the skin of an animal to turn themselves into monsters in the night because they are so strong when their skin, and the best way to kill a werewolf is when it's in the form of a man. As the stories of the Yeux Rouges have terrified the Haitians, and the myths cut across religions and socio-economic borders, with belief in the creatures strong especially among the poor, and far from being seen as a mere legend, many in Haiti believe that they really exist and claim to have seen them prowling about, and the belief is, as it's so strong, the strange deaths are sometimes blamed on them, as the suspicious people can be accused of being a Yeux Rouge and lynched by the frightened villagers. And in the wake of the 2010 earthquake, some reports came out of the country and made mainstream headlines, as the magnitude 7 earthquake struck the region of Haiti around Port-au-Prince in January 12, 2010, causing massive damage and killing hundreds of thousands, affecting over 3 million people, many of whom lost their homes and ended up packing into kind of like the camps, like refugee camps and all that, or simply sleeping out on the streets, as many of the 690,000 people who ended up in the camps sleep out in the open, often in the mud and grime, and dealing with the hardships of being homeless, but also being haunted by the Yeux Rouges, which have been widely claimed by survivors to be stalking the camps to attack the people and steal their children, as you would ideally be very vulnerable in the camps. As one inhabitant of one of the camps, who was a university educated by the name of Vladimir Cadet, said the situation in a statement to the Financial Times, like almost all Haitian families are afraid of this. While they are sleeping in the streets, they are living with the reality that there was a woman whose 2 children were taken by a werewolf, and this kind of thing is spreading like wildfire, and I've never seen one, but I've been told by my mother that they exist. When I was a little boy, I was nearly taken. As the situation seemed so bad that Cadet claimed that the homeless had set up guard patrols at night to keep a lookout for those Jerouges, and in many cases there has been alleged success in finding them, and this has usually led to bloody retribution. And as in 2016, 3 deaf women named Visura Genin, Vanessa Prevary, and Monique Vincent ventured out from the village of Livy, which was set up to provide homes for displaced deaf people, in order to collect supplies in portable prints. Some 20 miles away, they were later found in ditches, beaten, stabbed, burnt, and with their tongues cut out, in apparent ritualistic murder. And according to an Associated Press article on the case, one suspect said the women had been killed, and as they were suspected of being Jerouges or werewolves. As the article kind of stated, one suspect told investigators that the deaf women were killed by Genin's husband, because the family feared that they were werewolf-type creatures called loup-garou, as their disability the product of a hex. While in another camp, for those that were displaced, a man suspected of a Jerouge was beaten to death after trying to steal a child somehow. And while in another camp, another woman was lynched. And murdered while in the process of the transformation. And while in another camp called La Grotte, a man killed by a mob was thought to be a Jerouge, killing and kidnapping children as well. As a resident of La Grotte named Michael Cassero kind of said, after the earthquake, the loup-garou fled from prison. He was bragging that he was in jail because he was caught eating children, and during the night he went into the tent and tried to take someone's child. He was killed, kind of thing. And yeah, despite the claims that the werewolves were running amok, the fact that in the wake of the earthquake, relief agencies and UN having reports that instances of kidnapping children smuggling have skyrocketed, which is to be expected in the rather impoverished and disaster-ravaged nation, where thousands of children were left homeless or orphaned after the earthquake. Is most of these are carried out by kind of like local gangs who were looking for children to sell into slavery for a profit, but foreigners also had a hand in it, as some were taken for illegal adoptions where they believed to be a better world. There's one shocking case with this as concerned to the arrest of 10 American Baptist aid workers who were accused of attempting to smuggle 33 homeless children ranging from 12 years old to 12 months. And as for the child stealing, as it relates to the werewolves, Sylvia Leferesi, like the Haiti Secretary of State for Finance, had said, people talk about loup-garous to give a name to their fears, but they're child snatchers who snatch children, not evil spirits, kind of thing. And it's likely reason to report that Jerouges or loup-garou of folklore after the earthquake stems from a volatile combination of an increased vulnerability of the population affected by the disaster and the opportunistic nature of kind of like the underworld who prey on the weak, and the increased reliance of belief in mysticism and voodoo magic to cope with the hardship after the earthquake or another disaster. As the age-old Haitian belief in dark folklore, magic and spirits have come to the fore, and maybe causing them to project supernatural monsters who are simply human monsters, and sadly even onto innocent people. Yet many other people still continue adamantly insist that the werewolves, like these druids, are real and that they certainly do haunt the arid regions of from the earthquake, and for them the darkness has descended upon them not only in the disaster and is human suffering, but also fighting supernatural monsters. As in some cultures we consider these things are considered to be myth and legend and magic, a reality of life, and perhaps will be. As who knows, there could be actual werewolves and all that out there. So yeah, bye for now.